You've looked at her phone. You've gone over every reason in your head. But still, you can't shake that awful feeling that she's hiding something. The more you ask for clear answers, the more she backs away, leaving you swimming in uncertainty. That's the cruel situation many guys get caught in. You look for proof while she keeps perfecting her hiding act. And here's what it costs you. You lose your calm, your self-respect, and years of your life to a falsehood you can never quite pin down. But what if I told you there's a simple statement so powerful, it cuts right through every excuse, every disguise, every performance? One question that doesn't just check her faithfulness, it forces her to face her own behavior. Stick with me because I'm about to share that question with you, and once you have it, you'll never have to look blindly again. Before I give you the key question that can uncover lies, I want to know who's watching. Please subscribe, hit the like button on this video, and then leave a note telling me which city you're viewing from. I read all the responses, and it helps me see how far this message is reaching men everywhere, from all walks of life, who've had the same doubts. And trust me, what you're about to hear can end years of guessing with just one inquiry. When a man suspects his partner is being unfaithful, his first reaction is nearly always the same. He hunts for proof. He checks her device when she's busy. He goes through her social media likes and late comments. He drives past her job or suddenly shows up unannounced, hoping to find her in the act. And when the worry gets too intense, he makes her sit down and nervously asks the serious question, "Are you being unfaithful to me?" But here is the harsh reality. You're playing a scenario she's already prepared for. If she is being unfaithful, she's practiced her denials. She has her excuses ready. She's built her lies with just enough facts to make them sound real. The second you rely on direct questions or constant checking, you put yourself in the weakest spot possible. You've made her the one holding the truth. She has the answers, and you are left chasing shadows. This is why most men become deeply focused on their worry. They think one more message, one more strange detail, one more late-night check will finally reveal the secret. But instead, they end up tired, worried, and emotionally unstable. The truth doesn't come out. It gets buried even deeper under her calm actions and perfectly timed reasons. Let's be clear, asking, "Are you being unfaithful to me?" is the wrong question. Why? Because it only asks for a simple yes or no. And nobody set on keeping a betrayal secret will suddenly choose yes. All you get is a denial, and the more you press, the more she defends herself, trapping you in a never-ending pattern of doubt and relying on her words. Here's the change you need. Stop looking for proof like a private investigator and start acting like someone with a clear plan. Instead of trying to catch her behavior, you look for the weak points in her actions. Instead of asking for answers she's already rehearsed, you ask questions that get past the surface. For instance, rather than asking, "Where were you yesterday evening?" a question she's prepared for, you might calmly say, "I've noticed the feeling between us is different. How do you honestly feel about where we are right now?" That isn't about catching her in a lie. That's about making her true feelings visible, because no liar can perfectly match her words, voice, and body language over a long period. So, if you've been stuck in the constant loop of searching phones, questioning stories, or setting up tests, understand this. You've been playing her game, and when you play her game, you lose your self-respect long before you ever find the truth. And that's exactly why most men never discover a betrayal, because they start with the wrong idea that proof will set them free, when actually proof is the last thing you'll get. And that leads to the main point. If evidence and direct questioning don't work, then what does? This is where things change. If chasing proof only pulls you deeper into doubt, then what can really break through the confusion? The answer isn't a huge amount of evidence. It isn't a loud fight late at night. It's one single question. Now, I want to be very clear. I'm not talking about some clever trick question or trap. This isn't about catching her making a small mistake in what she says. It's about being direct. A well-thought-out question doesn't stay on the surface where lies are easy. It goes deep into the place where her words and her inner feeling of right and wrong meet. That is what gives it its strength. Think about it. A liar practices the facts. She's ready for, "Where were you?" or "Who were you with?" She has those answers ready. But what she can't practice is how her body reacts when you ask her to look at herself. A real question doesn't just demand information, it asks for deep thought. And deep thought is when the mask starts to fail. For example, instead of asking, "Are you being unfaithful to me?" which goes nowhere, you might ask, "Do you feel you're still living up to the serious promises we made to each other?" That's not a simple yes or no box she can easily tick. That's a mirror. And when she looks into it, something changes. Maybe it's a pause. Maybe her voice gets tight. Maybe she tries too hard to sound enthusiastic. That's how the truth slips out. Not in the exact words she uses, but in the effort it takes for her to keep herself together. This is why one simple, well-aimed question can do more than hours of constant questioning. Questioning her forces her to perform. A single strong question forces her to face the facts about herself, about the partnership, about the difference between who she pretends to be and who she truly is. But here's the trick. Asking the right question needs you to be in control of yourself. You can't say it in anger and expect her to break down. That only makes her put her defenses up. You ask it calmly, almost like you are inviting her into an honest talk. That is where the power comes from. It's not about tricking her. It's about seeking clarity. So, why is one question more dangerous to a liar than 10 hours of watching her? Because watching her fights her story. But the right question, it fights her inner sense of right and wrong. And that feeling always shows through. And this brings up the next challenge. If one question can make the mask crack, then how exactly does that process work? Why does it stop the performance completely? Here's what most men don't realize. Lying isn't just saying things that aren't true, it's creating a whole story. When a woman is unfaithful, she builds a story in her head long before you even suspect anything. She practices the lines, she knows how to answer, "Where were you?" with practiced ease. She creates reasons so neatly that even she starts to believe them. That's why when you come at her directly, you're not talking to the truth. You're talking to her script. But here's the thing about scripts. They are weak. They only work on the surface. The moment you change the question from simple facts to deeper values, the whole structure begins to shake. When you ask, "Are you proud of the life we're building together?" you're no longer pulling on the details of her excuse. You're pulling on her sense of who she is. And that is not something she can fake without a lot of effort. Think about it this way. A lie can cover up actions, but it can't cover up inner conflict. If her actions don't match the values she claims to have, her body will give her away. You'll see it in her pause before she answers, in the small crack in her voice, in the way she avoids looking you in the eyes. She might even try too hard, saying, "Of course I am," a little too quickly, a little too loudly, because silence feels risky. That is the crack in the mask. This isn't about analyzing every blink or breath like a TV detective. It's about noticing the mismatch between her story and her current feeling. Words are rehearsed. The tone of her voice is not. Body movements are not. The emotional rhythm is not. That is where the lie falls apart. Here's a useful action. When you ask the question, stay quiet after. Don't rush to fill the space. Don't rush to explain yourself. Just let the quietness stay. That's when the mask becomes heavy. That's when she has to carry the burden of her own divided reality, what she's saying versus how she's living. And this is why the right question is so powerful. It's not a trap set by you. It's a collision happening inside her. The two separate worlds she's been managing, her excuses and her guilt, suddenly crash together. And when they hit, something has to leak out. The real sign isn't what she says, it's how she says it. The pauses, the fake calm, the small flash of irritation. Those are the signs of truth trying to escape. That's why the smart move is to stop hunting for her words and start noticing the weak spots in her performance. But what exactly should you be looking for when the mask begins to break? Because once you know the signs, you'll always see them. The truth finds a strange way to get out. Words can be polished, stories practiced, but the body never lies. When a woman is carrying the weight of a betrayal, her nervous system is working overtime. And no matter how much control she thinks she has, that stress escapes in the smallest, most inconvenient ways. You'll see it in her eyes. The quick look away, the refusal to look you in the eye for more than a second. You'll hear it in her voice, a sudden tightening on certain words or laughing that seems a bit too forced. Sometimes it's in the timing. She takes too long to answer, as if she's changing her script in her head right then. Or she replies too fast, trying to end the conversation before you can look deeper. Either way, the performance doesn't feel right. These aren't just habits from nervousness. They are the cost of living two lives. One life is the image she presents, loyal, committed, true to the partnership. The other is the secret she's keeping. That division creates stress, and stress always leaves a trace. Think of it like a crack in a window. You don't need to break it with a hammer. The pressure inside does the work. The stopping, the nervous hands, the sudden need to fidget. These are small breaks in the mask. The more stress she feels, the wider those breaks get. Now, here is where most men make a mistake. They focus too much on catching a big slip, some dramatic confession or breakdown straight out of a movie. That's not how real life is. Real life gives you small, constant leaks. The way her smile doesn't reach her eyes, the way her voice drops when you talk about future plans, the sudden change of topic when you mention faithfulness. A useful suggestion: when you ask the right question, stop only listening to the words. Look at the bigger picture: her face, her hands, her timing, even her breathing. You're not trying to be a detective. You're trying to notice if things match up. Do her words fit with her feelings? Do her reassurances feel truly believable? Or do they sound like she's holding something back? That's where the truth is hidden. And here's the tough part. Once you learn to see this, you can't unsee it. You'll start noticing it everywhere. That is strength. But it's also painful, because once you see the breaks, you can't pretend the window is still whole. But there's a problem. Your ability to see those breaks doesn't just depend on her. It depends on you, because the way you ask the question, the feeling you bring to that moment, can either draw the truth out or push it further away. Most men, when they feel doubt, approach with strong feelings. They lead with anger, accusations, demands. And what happens? She immediately goes into defense mode. Her mind doesn't even fully understand the meaning of your words. It switches to survival: fight, run, or invent a story. She gets louder, colder, or more convincing in her denial, and you walk away thinking you pushed her, when actually you just gave her a reason to stick to her story even more. That's the trap. When you let anger control the moment, you create an opponent, not a chance for honesty. And an opponent is always ready to fight. She'll grab every shield, blame, changing the subject, playing the victim. Suddenly, you're not closer to the truth. You're stuck in a fight you can't win. Now turn the situation around. Imagine, instead of rushing in with accusations, you ask with calmness. No shouting, no tight fists. You sit across from her and speak with the quiet interest of someone looking for clarity, not a fight. That calmness is powerful. It lowers the wall she's built, because when you're not attacking, she doesn't know which defense to use. This isn't about tricking her. It's a strategy based on self-respect. You're not begging. You're not threatening. You're choosing dignity over drama. And that choice gives you an advantage. A calm question creates silence, and in that silence, the cracks begin to appear. Here's how you do it simply. First, your body position: open, steady eye contact, no aggressive leaning forward. Second, your voice: strong but steady, no sarcasm or sharp words. Third, your language: instead of "Are you being unfaithful to me?" which easily brings a practiced "no," you frame it as a question about the relationship itself. Do you still feel true to the promises we made? That's not a trap question. It's a mirror. And most people can't look into a mirror without showing a reaction if they are hiding something. When you ask calmly, you're not giving her a battlefield. You're giving her a stage, and the performance is where the truth leaks out. Anger traps her into playing a role she knows by heart. Calmness forces her to think on the spot, and thinking on the spot is where the cracks show. Remember this: you're not trying to win an argument. You're trying to uncover reality, and reality doesn't need shouting to be shown. It just needs the right conditions to breathe. But here's the most important point. Even with the right question asked the right way, something deeper happens next. The words and the mask may still hold, but inside her body, inside her emotions, a struggle begins. That struggle has a name, and it's the biggest clue of all. When a woman is hiding betrayal, the most reliable sign isn't in what she says. It's in the difference between what she says and what her body, voice, and feeling reveal. That difference is called emotional mismatch, and it's the one thing no one being unfaithful can fully hide. Here's the inner process behind it. To keep a lie going, she has to hold two realities at the same time: the life she shows you and the secret she's keeping. That division creates tension inside, and the body doesn't lie when it's under pressure. It leaks the truth in tiny expressions, in changes in her voice, in pausing. Imagine this. She says, "Of course I love you," but her arms are folded, her shoulders are tight, and her eyes quickly look away at the end of the sentence. Or she insists, "You mean everything to me," but her voice sounds tight, running a bit higher than normal. That's a mismatch. The words are kind, but the delivery is harsh, and your inner feeling picks up on it, even if your mind tries to find reasons to ignore it. The main thing is to stop focusing only on the script she gives and start observing if things align. Does the tone match the content? Do her actions fit her promises? Does her timing feel natural? Or is there a pause, a rush, a filler word like well or before she finally gives her answer? Those tiny breaks matter because truth flows easily, but lies always come slowly. Now, here's why this gives you strength. Most men miss this mismatch because they are too focused on the exact words. They want verbal proof. But liars are experts in verbal arguments. It's their strongest area. When you learn to watch the emotional signs underneath, you shift the entire power balance. Suddenly, you're not arguing about her words. You're seeing her struggle to keep the mask in place. And let me be clear, this isn't about being overly suspicious. It's about being exact. You're not hunting for ghosts in every small movement. You're looking for patterns, constant mismatches between what she shows and what leaks out. A single nervous laugh doesn't prove unfaithfulness, but repeated mismatch across many talks. That's a sign of a break. Think of emotional mismatch as background noise in a song. You can't always name it at first, but you know the music is wrong. And once you hear it, you can't stop hearing it. But here's the problem. When that noise becomes clear, most people who are unfaithful don't simply break down and confess. Instead, they try harder with another trick, turning the tables. They'll flip the focus back onto you, blaming, confusing, even accusing you to keep the attention away from their own cracks. When emotional mismatch starts showing, most people who are unfaithful don't just stay exposed, they rush to defend themselves. And one of the oldest methods is turning the tables. Instead of facing the guilt inside, she pushes it outward and makes you the one with the problem. You'll hear things like, "You haven't been loving lately," or "You're always so full of doubts." Some even turn the blame on you harder. "You're too controlling. You're the reason I feel trapped." In that moment, she's not just avoiding the topic, she's changing the story so she can be seen as the hurt one. Why does this happen? Because turning the tables lessens her inner guilt. If she can convince herself that you are cold, not paying attention, or untrustworthy, then her own betrayal feels less shameful. It becomes reasonable to her. From a mental standpoint, turning the tables is a way to survive. By assigning her own faults to you, she creates enough confusion to keep the lie breathing. And here's the trap. Many men fall for it. You start defending yourself, arguing, trying to prove you're not the bad person. Suddenly, the main focus changes. Instead of her faithfulness being in question, now you are the one under pressure. It's the perfect trick to change attention. Your effort goes into proving you're innocent while her guilt stays hidden. The answer is awareness. You can't stop her from turning the tables, but you can refuse to be pulled into the drama. When she blames you for being distant, ask yourself, is this truly about me, or is it a reflection of her own distance? When she overwhelms you with confusing, conflicting details, remember that too much complication is itself a sign. Truth is simple. Lies are heavy. Another sign of turning the tables is overreaction. A simple question like, "Do you feel good about us lately?" can cause a huge defensive storm. anger, crying, sudden accusations, all designed to confuse you so the real issue gets forgotten. But here's the insight. Defense that is too strong is a warning sign. People who have nothing to hide don't panic when asked about loyalty. They answer calmly. So, how do you handle her turning the tables? By staying calm. Don't fight back with anger. Don't get pulled into trying to prove your worth. Take a step back and recognize her action for what it is, a sign of a lack of honesty. It's not just her avoiding blame, it's her guilt escaping through the breaks. But that leaves us with the hardest part. If turning the tables is so difficult to deal with, if she can twist the story and make you question your own reality, how do you finally break through all the noise? How do you cut through every layer of defense and get to the core truth? After all the turning the tables, all the confusion, all the defensive outbursts, there's still one way to break through everything. And it doesn't involve spying, arguments, or making huge demands. It comes down to one question, a question so misleadingly simple that it slices through every disguise she's built. That question is, are you still proud of the life we're building together? Notice what this does. Unlike, are you being unfaithful to me, which only asks for denial, this question forces her to face herself. It makes her compare her current behavior against the very core of your partnership, trust, shared values, and a future built together. It's not about an affair, it's about honesty. Here's why it works. Pride in a life shared can't be faked. If she's been faithful, the answer comes out naturally, calm, honest, matching her body language. But if she's been betraying you, the question creates a clash inside her. On one side is the story she's practiced, the perfect defense, the reasons, the excuses. On the other side is the reality of her actions, the break she knows deep down she's caused. That inner clash is almost impossible to hide. You'll see a pause. You'll feel the disconnect in her voice. Maybe she avoids your eyes. Maybe she answers too fast, almost like she's quickly ending the conversation. Or maybe she explains too much, adding unnecessary details to cover the silence. These are not random accidents. They are the sound of two realities fighting inside her. And here's the great part of it. You don't need her to admit anything. You don't need solid proof. The answer isn't in the words. It's in the consistency between her words and her emotional presence. This question removes the performance and forces her true state to leak out. But let's be very clear, this isn't just a strategy to expose her, it's a test of you. Can you stand in that moment, calm and steady, ready to accept whatever truth comes out? Because if you ask this question, you must be prepared for the answer, even if it hurts you deeply. That's the price of self-respect. To seek truth without begging, without controlling, without losing yourself. So the next time doubt hurts you, don't waste time being a detective. Don't get caught in endless battles of her turning the tables. Ask one question. Ask it clearly. Ask it calmly. And listen not just to her words, but to the response from her soul. Because once you hear that truth, you'll never be the same person again. And that, my friend, is the start of freedom. You've seen it now, the constant hunt for proof, the late-night phone checks, the desperate questioning. It never gives you peace. It only traps you in a cycle of doubt and dependence. That's why so many men never find the truth. They get lost in looking for proof while their partner gets better at lying. But you've also seen the other choice. Just one question, said calmly, said with self-respect, can cut through months of lies in one moment. Not because she confesses, but because no disguise can last when pride and honesty are put on the table. Are you still proud of the life we're building together? That's not a sneaky line. That's a mirror. And the way she reacts will tell you everything you need to know. The strength of this question isn't only in exposing her, it's in making you strong again. When you stop chasing and start standing firm, you change the entire power balance. You're no longer the desperate man begging for small pieces of honesty. You become the man who seeks clarity, who values truth over comfort, and who refuses to live in the dark. And here's the real victory. Once you know the truth, you are free. Free to rebuild if there's still honesty left. Free to walk away if betrayal has ruined the foundation. Free to get back your self-respect, your time, and your peace of mind. Because living with doubt is worse than facing pain. Pain heals. Doubt slowly destroys. So I'll leave you with this. Don't waste years chasing shadows. Ask the question, watch closely, accept what you see. That's how you reclaim your life. If this message felt important to you, don't just keep it to yourself. Subscribe to this channel for more honest talk about partnerships and the reasons behind betrayal. Hit like, leave a comment with your thoughts or experiences, and share this video with another man who needs to hear it. The more we spread clarity, the fewer men stay trapped in silence. Remember, truth is your friend, self-respect is your weapon, and freedom begins the moment you demand both.